How are you, everybody? We're doing some final review discussions right now. So, what I have is um, the answers here in red and the questions here in black. So, let's go over them together so that we can help you go through all these review sheets and get you completely prepared for the final exam. Remember, performance is a function of preparation. I will show two of our puppy dogs. We bred those. That's Onyx on the left and Aspen on the right. And there's a real nice brown trout, just a tick over 20 inches. I took out of the Delaware River. Well, actually, I was guiding someone, and they took out of the Delaware River just yesterday. I'm recording this on the 10th. Okay, so final review number one. At Berkeley Central High School, a survey was conducted to see if students prefer cheeseburgers, pizza, or hot dogs for lunch. The results of this survey are shown in the table. So for females, 32 preferred cheeseburgers, 44 pizza, 24 hot dogs. For males, 36 cheeseburgers, 30 pizza, 34 hot dogs. Based on this survey, what percent of the students preferred pizza? So remember, percent is part over whole. So if you look at pizza altogether, because it's students, it doesn't break it down by male, female. Altogether, there are 74 students who like pizza, or 74 people, and there are 200 that were surveyed altogether. So 74 out of 200 is 37%. That is choice two. Number two says, the table below shows the time in hours spent by students collecting on electronic devices and their math test scores. So the students spent 3 hours, they scored an 85, 1 hour a 99, 4 hours an 81, and so on and so forth. What's the correlation coefficient? So this is one where you have to go in your graphing calculator and you have to type in stat, edit, and L1 becomes this column on the left, L2 the column on the right, and then you go back to stat, but this time you don't hit edit, you go to calc, the second one over. And then you go down to, I believe it's the fourth one that says linear regression. And you go through, and at the bottom, as you scroll through all of the little buttons and hitting them and everything, at the bottom, one of the pieces of data you get back is R equals. R stands for the linear coefficient. That's what we say here, R equals. And in this case, it's negative 0.977. And since it wants it to the nearest hundredth, it would be negative 0.98. This is the reminder. Stat edit inputs the data, stat calc, then line regression to get to R. Now, what happens if, and this happened to me the first time I tried this many years ago when I rode my pet dinosaur to school. You look for the R and it's not there. Well, that means that the diagnostics are not turned on your calculator. I'm not sure why you have to turn them on, but the way you turn them on is you go to catalog, which I believe is second zero, and you just keep scrolling down. It takes a while. And the first thing you're going to see, diagnostics off. Go past that to the very next one, diagnostics on, and hit enter. And then go back and run stat calc, and at the end you'll see R equals. Okay? So that would be choice one, negative 0.98. All right, next. On a standardized examination, Laura received a score of 85. Which was exactly 2 standard deviations above the mean. If the standard deviation for the exam is 4, what's the mean? So here's the deal. Each standard deviation is 4, and standard deviation is the normal amount that you're different by. So what we want to do is subtract 2 standard deviations from the mean. So if a standard deviation is 4, 2 of them is 8. So you start with an 85, and then you subtract those 8 points, because you're different by 2 standard deviations. Each standard deviation is 4 points. So 2 of them makes 8 points. So 85 minus 8 is 77. Okay, next up. In triangle ABC, the measure of angle A is 15 less than twice the measure of angle B. The measure of angle C is equal to the sum of A and B. Determine the measure of angle B. So here's my diagram. Okay, here's X for angle B. 2x minus 15 for angle A, and angle C is their sum. So 1x and 2x makes 3x minus 15. And then, of course, you set them all equal to 180, add them up, and you come up with x is 35. All right, number 5. The expression is equivalent to, and what you have to remember to do here is to distribute a -1, because there's really a 1 in front of the second set of parentheses. We just don't bother to write it. So there's really a -1 here, and we just distribute the negative across. In other words, here's where I have it here. Here's the first set of the first trinomial minus the second trinomial, and I distribute a negative. And when you distribute a negative to a term, it just changes the sign. So the 6x squared becomes negative, the positive 3x becomes negative, and the positive 5 becomes -5. And then you just combine like terms, puppy dogs and kittens. If I have 2x squareds and -6x squareds, altogether I have -4x squareds. If I have 6x's and -3x, I have 3x. And +5 and -5, excuse the yawn, add up to nothing. So it's just -4x squared plus 3x. Okay, number 6. These are alternate interior angles, or you could look at them as being both acute, or you could look at it as if you did drag and drop, the 2x would land here, and they would both be vertical to each other, which makes them equal. Whichever way you best understand it is fine. Bottom line is they're equal, so 2x is equal to x plus 15, and you solve. X is 15, choice 1. They only wanted the equation, and there it is, 2x is equal to x plus 15. Number 7 and 8, which illustrates the associative property. So remember, associative property has to do with associating. So the middle term changes who it's associated with. Here in choice 3, it's first associated with the 3 by the parentheses, and then with the y. So what's in that parentheses changes, and so that would have to be an example of the distributive property, okay? First the x is being grouped with the 3, then the x is being grouped with the y. The next one, number 8, 2x squared is subtracted from x squared plus 3x minus 2. 2x squared minus x plus 6, I should say. What I really want to focus on here is the word from. Whenever you see from has to go first. So for instance, if you fly to New York from Los Angeles, where do you start? Well, you start in Los Angeles. So where you're flying from is the beginning. Likewise, if you're subtracting from, the x squared plus 3x minus 2 has to be the beginning. So I get x squared plus 3x minus 2 minus, and then I have to put it inside a grouping symbol because it's being grouped, the 2x squared minus x plus 6, and this is where you distribute that negative and change every sign, right? 2x squared becomes negative, x becomes negative, x becomes positive, sorry, and 6 becomes negative, and then combine your terms. X squared and -2x squared make a -x squared. 3x and x makes 4x, and -2 and -6 makes -8. All right. Accompanying diagram, base of a 15-foot ladder rests on the ground 4 feet from a 6-foot fence. So here's your fence. Okay, 4 feet from the fence, 15-foot ladder. It says if the ladder touches the top of the fence and the side of the building, what angle to the nearest degree does that have? And then once we find the nearest degree, how tall is it to the top? How far up the wall is the ladder? So, I don't know why I had this number 9 in here. Did I miss this? Hold on. Oh, I'm going to have to go back and do number 9 in a minute. But here's number 10. I skipped 9, so we'll go back to it. So first, this is 6 and this is 4. I want to find this angle. Well, compared to angle x, that's opposite and adjacent, so it's tangent. So it's going to be the tangent inverse of the opposite divided by or over the adjacent, so 6 over 4. And that works out to be 56 degrees. And then to find the height here, I'll say, well, since x is 56 degrees and the height of that wall is opposite x, the sine of x is y over 15. The sine of x is y over 15. So sine of 56 is y over 15. And when you cross multiply, y is going to be 15 times the sine of 56, which is 12.4. And it wanted the nearest whole number, so that would be 12, the nearest foot. Okay, let's go back for a sec to number 9. Using only 32 and 20 cent stamps, Charlie puts $3.36 in postage on a package he sent to his sister. He used twice as many 32-cent stamps as 20-cent stamps. Determine each type of stamp he had. So I started off, I made a sloppy mistake, so I erased that and came back to it. So the number of 32-cent stamps, call those X, times 32 cents. And the number of 20-cent stamps, call them Y, times 20, it's got to add up to 336. But the other thing you have to remember is that there are twice as many 32-cent stamps as 20-cent stamps. So the X is going to equal 2 times the Y. So I'm going to substitute now. Instead of leaving X there, I'm going to put 2Y. So 0.32 times 2Y plus 0.20 times Y is equal to 336. And then I just solve the equation that results. I get Y equals 4. And then I substitute back into the bottom equation to get X equals 8. All right, and we already did number 10. Let's take a look at number 11 here. Which expression is equivalent to? So for number 11, I'm going to distribute the 2, then distribute the 3x, and then combine like terms. And when I'm done doing that, I get choice 4. 5x squared minus 12x minus 2. And last but not least, number 12, the expression is equivalent to. So this is the difference of two perfect squares. Remember, so I have to square root things. Square root of 16 is not 8, it is 4. And the signs in the middle have to be opposite. Otherwise, you can't get a negative 81. So it's choice 3, 4x plus 9, 4x minus 9. All right, guys, that's your review. Final review number 1. We have a total of 4 final reviews for the final exam. And the really cool thing here that you should know is that these final exam questions they're not exactly like the final exam questions, but the content, the topics, the material is very similar, very, very similar. So if you can do these questions on all 4 sheets, because I spread them out, then you should be in excellent shape to do really well on your final exam. As far as studying for your final exam goes, not only should you do these review sheets, the vast majority of questions are on the review sheets, but there are some other questions on that final exam that have more to do with some of the notes and homework that we have done during the course of the year. So you're going to want to prep over that as well. All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.